safety car rental racing across America. Presented by Visa. It's the first Sunday in February, and for ESPN, it's the start of our 1997 season of thoroughbred racing. And what a place to begin. Now, don't you wish you were here? It's another perfect day in paradise. The temperature here in South Florida in the mid-70s, a light tropical breeze, and a fast racetrack. Hello again, everyone. I'm Chris Lincoln. Well, here we go again on the road to the Kentucky Derby, now 13 weeks away. For the newly turned 3-year-olds, well, they've had their preseason. That was their 2-year-old year of racing. Now they're into the regular season, and everyone has their eye on the championship playoffs. For us, that's the Triple Crown, the Spring Classics. And this is the 44th running of the Hutcheson Stake, a race rich in history of Derby horses. And now with a proud new name, it is the Danka Hutcheson. More on that later. The race, of course, our feature, but we're excited about another event to happen here at Gulfstream this afternoon. We'll cover live for you the first public showing of the life-size sculpture of the horse of the world, Cigar. Now, this track, of course, is used to champions like Cigar and others. This race, the Hutcheson, has showcased champions. Good point, 1994. You're looking on the outside of the big gray Holy Bull, owned and trained by Jimmy Kroll, one of the most popular thoroughbreds ever here. Won the Hutcheson, won the Florida Derby, went on to be Horse of the Year. Our conditions of racing for the Danka Hutcheson of 1997. The purse is $100,000 guaranteed. That's $60,000 to the winner. It's grade 2. The distance 7 furlongs. That's 7/8 of a mile, and it's for 3-year-old thoroughbreds. Well, now to meet the field, let's go behind the grandstands to my colleagues in the paddock, Dave Johnson and Caton Prater.
Thanks, Chris. Well, Caton, first of all, let's check the distance. 7 furlongs, 1 turn. What does that mean to you?
Well, David, in between. It's not a 1 1/8 or a 1 1/4 where you can come from well off the pace, but it's not a 50-yard dash to the wire either. It's an in-between distance that suits a lot of different runners with different styles at different stages of the game.
But, you know, you look at the history of this race and you see champion sprinters like Housebuster, Plug Nichols, Shecky Green. They all won it, as well as horses who won the Kentucky Derby at a 1 1/4. Spectacular bid, Swale.
And last year's running was a perfect example of that, with Appealing Skier, a top-notch sprinter, edging out Unbridled Song, a horse who would go on to win long-distance races like the Wood Memorial and the Florida Derby, and would be favored in the Kentucky Derby.
And if you haven't heard, there was some news this week about Unbridled Song.
Well, earlier this week, trainer Nick Zito announced the retirement of Unbridled Song due to a fractured right cannon bone.
But the good news is that it's not life-threatening. He was retired to stud. Unbridled Song certainly gave us some special moments over the last year. But it's time to move on. 1997, here's the field for the Danka Hutcheson. We start with Hoop, Coyote Hoop, who faced older horses, finished second last out, and starts at 8-1. The lightly raced and training smartly President's Decree, and Shane Sellers rides. He was involved in a spill in the first race, but is right back in the irons this afternoon. Y'all Can, from the barn of Nick Zito, with Horacio Caramanos, an Argentine jockey, in for the ride. Frisk Me Now, long shot, Eddie King, another long shot Crown Ambassador with Pat Day. An impressive stakes winner at 6 furlongs. Last out, Confide, Mike Smith, the jockey, second choice. Time to Gamble with Joe Bravo, and the morning line favorite there in post 8, winner of the Champagne, third in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Last out, Ordway with John Velazquez. But the 2 big favorites here for 2 completely different reasons.
Well, Ordway is being trained for races down the line. Trainer David Donk has prepped his colt. He's got his Kentucky Derby route all mapped out, and he's looking for bigger and better things. He's concerned with how his colt does today, but he's more concerned with how he'll be tomorrow.
But on the other hand, you've got Ben Perkins Sr., who approaches this race. I want to win today, and I'm going to worry about the distance and the future later. Ben trains Confide this year. Last year, he won this race with Appealing Skier, and we asked Ben, what about these 2 horses? Are they similar?
No, Appealing Skier was, when he opened the gate, he goes as far as he can go, where this horse can rate. That Mike rode him the other day here, that in the Spectacular Bid Stakes, and that he'll rate. He's got natural speed, but you can rate him, you can take him back.
But will Confide duplicate Appealing Skier's performance and take Perkins back to the Danka Hutcheson winner's circle? Well, a number of the other trainers in the race think Confide is the horse to beat.
Yeah, them guys are pretty crafty. We just hope he runs well and have to run around to win.
And even with different styles and different objectives, the fans have done a good job at sorting it out at the windows. 6 of the last 7 winners were short prices.
But Caton and Chris, this is not a 2-horse race this year.
Well, we have a number of questions, Dave, you're right, to answer, starting with this race. But here's our first question of the day. What does the life-size bronze of the Horse of the World Cigar look like? The unveiling is next, and we promise we won't peek until you come back. Thrifty Car Rental, racing across America. Brought to you by Thrifty Car Rental. Best of all, it's thrifty. By Visa, it's everywhere you want to be. Brewery Fresh Budweiser, who reminds you fresh beer tastes better. Doubletree Hotels and Guest Suites, with over 200 locations worldwide. Call 1-800-222-TREE. And by the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. Get away from the ordinary and discover the extraordinary Las Vegas. Call your travel agent today. Thrifty Car Rental, racing across America. Presented by Visa. As you look at a live shot of the Garden of Champions at Gulfstream Park, behind the grandstand here, where the ceremonies are about to take place. The unveiling of the life-size sculpture of Cigar. Our Danka Hutcheson stake is the 10th race and about to run the 9th here. Let's give you an update on the current odds for the Danka Hutcheson stake from the folks at Caesars. Our Kentucky Derby future book odds acceptable at 7-1, Jules at 10, Trader at 12, The Silver Move and Arthur L at 15. These are some 3-year-olds you'll be hearing about this spring, and those are the odds you can get right now at the future book at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. Well, as you mentioned, the moment is about at hand to unveil the life-size sculpture of Cigar. Let's give you a bit of a peek of what's been going on to create this masterpiece. First, Doug Don commissioned Cindy Wolfe, the outstanding artist from Versailles, Kentucky. And Cindy started, of course, with photos of Cigar, a personal visit to Cigar to make measurements, then a sculpture about a third life size. Now, here's the work on the life-size sculpture itself. Molding, working on the clay. It was then sent off to a foundry in Utah. 53 sections returned to Cindy's studio the day after Christmas. And she has been working 20-hour days to assemble this. Everything is in order, except for the final patina treatment to match the colors and markings of the legendary Cigar. All is in preparation in the Garden of Champions at Gulfstream. Let's go there and meet their Gulfstream Park track announcer and our colleague, Tom Durkin.
Welcome to Gulfstream Park's Garden of Champions. And on this day, the unveiling of a statue of a champion's champion, the Horse of the World, Cigar. The monument will serve as a centerpiece to this place, which celebrates the spirit of so many thoroughbred greats. Right now, we'd like to introduce those of us who will have the opportunity to meet the horses, or the people associated with this great horse. And first and foremost, Cindy Wolfe, who is the artist who created this great work of art. The actor George Hamilton, talk show host and cigar connoisseur. Nice tan, George. About the only thing that's got more bronze than your complexion today is this statue, which we're about to unveil. Alan Paulson, the owner of Cigar, the Eclipse Award-winning owner and breeder, along with his wife, Madeline. The actor John Forsythe, himself a noted thoroughbred owner and breeder. The real boss, Mrs. Alice Don, and my boss, Doug Don, the president and chief executive officer of Gulfstream Park, who I'd like to introduce right now. Mr. Don?
Thank you, Tom. And before I give my remarks, I would like to recognize another individual, the project manager of this project, Chuck Quigley, who helped Cindy meet the deadline, which was very difficult. Thank you, Chuck. I would like to tell you what this piece of work represents to Gulfstream. This is what Gulfstream is all about, thoroughbred horse racing. we should never forget our purpose. It symbolizes our appreciation for the Paulsons, giving us Cigar and sharing him with our fans. Thank you, Madeline and Alan. It symbolizes the enormous effort, talent, and emotion of its artists, Cindy Wolfe and Chuck Quigley. Thank you, Cindy and Chuck. And lastly, it symbolizes to our employees their hard work and dedication is worth their significant efforts. Thank you, Gulfstream. I appreciate it. And now it gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce John Forsythe.
Hello. A well-known poet once said, "Be not afraid of greatness. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them." The words are from Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, but they have very appropriate meaning for this ceremony here. Because Cigar was the horse of the world, and he achieved his greatness, and he leaves us with a legacy of memories that will never be forgotten. But Cigar was fortunate to be owned by a man, Alan Paulson, who believed in his ability. Fortunate to be trained by Bill Mott, a man of boundless talent, dedication, and perseverance. And fortunate to be ridden by Jerry Bailey, a jockey of world-class skill and mastery. On October 28, 1994, Cigar easily captured an allowance race at Aqueduct. He would not lose again for nearly 22 months. During that span, he captured 16 races in a row, 4 of them here at Gulfstream Park, equaling the modern-day record for consecutive victories. 10 of those victories came in Grade 1 races, and another was achieved in the Dubai World Cup. But Cigar's legacy is more than the Eclipse Awards he garnered or the $10 million he earned. It's about the heart he displayed. It's about the thrills he generated and the fans, young and old, who reveled in his glory. And in the end, it is that Cigar amplified those traits that we all aspire to ourselves. Bravery, brilliance, tenacity, and honesty. Cigar gave of himself, and in doing so, gave to us. It is the greatest gift of all.
There he is. The late Bill Leggett, the outstanding writer for Sports Illustrated and a lover of thoroughbreds, had a particular saying that he reserved for horses he saw on the track that had that special presence that was reserved for horses with that majestic appearance. He'd take a look and he'd say, "That one looks like a statue in the park." Well, today, Cigar is absolutely statuesque.
A great tribute to a great champion. And we've noted that good things just seem to happen with those people that seem to come in contact with this super horse Cigar. Remember last fall at Belmont Park, at Cigar's barn, a young tennis phenom came to pay a visit. This was Martina Hingis, stopped by to say hello. Well, this is Martina just a week ago. 16-year-old Martina became the youngest player in history to win a Grand Slam event, which took the Australian Open right here on ESPN. From all of his fans, including Martina, thanks, Cigar. It was quite a ride. Live shot again of the Garden of Champions, where they just unveiled the life-size statue of Cigar. And coming up next week in ESPN2's 2-Day at the Races makes its 1997 debut next Saturday, 6 o'clock Eastern. You won't want to miss this one. The Grade 1 Don Handicap, to return to perhaps our next superstar, 3-year-old champion Skipaway in the Don Handicap here. That's on 2-Day at the Races. Now back to the Garden of Champions with Dave Johnson and Alan Paulson.
And Billy Mott is here. First of all, Mr. Paulson, that was some ride you had with it.
Boy, that's for sure, and it's been a real thrill. And there's a little void after all that, though, but we're looking to get another horse that could take his place, and I think Billy here can do it for us.
Bill, the one moment in his career that stands out, hits you in the heart?
I think the Breeders' Cup Classic and the Dubai Cup would probably be a real toss-up. I mean, the Breeders' Cup Classic culminated the year 10 in a row, undefeated, looked like he'd be horse of the year, and then, of course, the Dubai Cup with the difference in everything.
It was a triumph.
It really was.
Bill, I know you were lucky to have Cigar, but I think Cigar was really lucky to have you.
Well, he came from the heavens, I believe, and he's been a gift for all of us, and really for all of racing. I think he's been a big joy and a big plus.
Never forget him. Thank you, Mr. Paulson. Bill Mott, back to you, Chris.
And Tuesday will be a busy day for the Cigar team. They'll accept the Big Sport of Turfdom Award, the Turf Publicists of America, for doing so much for racing. And then that evening, accept, well, probably 5 Eclipse Awards, including the Gold Trophy as Horse of the Year for the 2nd straight year. Our horses are arriving for the Danka Hutcheson Stakes. We'll be right back. And they're preparing the main track for our 7-furlong feature, the Danka Hutcheson Stakes. Coming up is the 10th race here at Gulfstream Park. Let's bring you the odds now from Las Vegas. Here's our field of 8, and here's what the current line has it at the racetrack. Hoop, Coyote Hoop, a big price at 15. President's Decree getting some support, as is Confide. Look at that, 8-5. Time to Gamble and Ordway at 3, but Confide has become the 8-5 favorite. Well, there is nothing quite as, could you say, exciting as having a young 3-year-old named a top Kentucky Derby prospect in the spring. There's also nothing quite as nerve-wracking. Young trainer David Donk is finding that out with one of today's favorites and one of the early favorites for the Derby, Ordway.
I suppose if there wasn't any pressure or, you know, any butterflies, I wouldn't be having any fun. That's what it's all about. You know, I'm glad to have the opportunity, hopefully, to enjoy some of that. And there's certainly a long ways to go. This is only the first step in a big road.
David Donk is about to take that first step with Ordway, the colt that won over $400,000 as a 2-year-old.
I knew when we ran him first time, you know, he was a pretty nice colt. He ran a big race. He got beat ahead by one of Wayne's colts and breaking from the 12 post. So it's a big race. Comes back in Saratoga, gets a little bit of trouble, wins with authority. Gets beat off in the Hopeful. But I think the race in the Champagne stamped him as a good horse. I know Woody always believed that if you could win the Champagne at a mile with a 2-year-old, you might have a Derby horse.
The Woody that David is referring to is Hall of Fame trainer Woody Stevens, who Donk worked under for 5.5 years before going out on his own in 1991. So what did he learn from the 2-time Kentucky Derby and 5-time Belmont winner?
Be patient. Again, don't lose sight of what one of the ultimate goals would be to win the Derby, so we don't need to win the Hutcheson. You know, 49er got beaten the Hutcheson, Unvital Song got beaten the Hutcheson. I'm sure we can go down through, and a lot of good horses did. But again, it's a step to the next race.
This is Ordway's 3-year-old debut and his first start since he ran 3rd as the 7-5 favorite in last October's Breeders' Cup Juvenile. So what does Donk hope Ordway gets out of his return?
Again, I'd just like to make a good appearance in the paddock, to be kind and rateable in the race, and just to finish well. And if he gets there, I'm sure we'd love to accept the trophy, but it doesn't all end on Sunday.
Meanwhile, David Donk has something else to think about.
Yeah, on December 30th, the birth of our first son, Paul Ryan, and Faye and he are doing great. So I hope it takes, I think it's going to be a little bit different perspective in life, and it's going to take a little bit of the pressure off of the Derby road.
Well, there is no heavier burden for a young classic horse than potential. Dave Johnson, Caton Bader have more on those young 3-year-olds that have potential to make it to Churchill Downs.
Well, later today at Santa Anita, the $100,000 Santa Catalina Boston Harbor. Last year's a big 2-year-old. He makes his 1997 debut, and he has a mission this year.
Well, he was last year's Breeders' Cup Juvenile winner, and he was also named 2-year-old champion. And no Breeders' Cup Juvenile winner has ever won the Kentucky Derby, and no 2-year-old champion has won the Derby since Spectacular Bid in 1979. So he's got a lot to overcome. But here's more on Boston Harbor and some of the other top 3-year-olds.
Eclipse champion Boston Harbor will see his first action since earning the title with a determined victory over Acceptable and Ordway in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Now, among those scheduled to oppose him are Hollywood Futurity winner Swiss Yodeler and the graded Turf Stakes winner Hello, who will try the main track for the first time.
Here in Florida, the speedy Arthur L. held off Acceptable in a 2-turn Holy Bull. Both are considered possibles for the Fountain of Youth in 3 weeks. The 1-2 finishers in the Remsen, the Silver Move, and Jules are also nearing their first action of the year. Jules is training at Hialeah and pointing for an undetermined spot. The Silver Move was scratched from the Holy Bull Stakes with a bruised foot and is now a Fountain of Youth candidate for trainer Linda Rice. Futurity winner Trader is also in serious preparation for his 3-year-old debut in late February or early March.
Well, those are the big names, as you know, Caton. But at this time of year, the barn area is like an echo chamber as people whisper about what 3-year-olds are getting ready. Well, out on the West Coast, Ron McAnally has a horse by the name of Mud Route. He's won his first 2 starts. He's expected to be in stakes real soon. How about here in Florida?
Well, here we're singing from the pulpit. That's the AP Indy Colt pulpit, who broke his mate in near record-breaking fashion. He's coming up next week. We also have to go deep on Nick Zito's depth chart to find a horse by the name of Jack Flash, who's put together 2 straight Gulfstream wins, and he's turning some heads.
And if some of those whispers turn out to be as good as they suggest, Chris, we're going to have some real fun on the Triple Crown Trail this year.
Count on it, Dave. We're looking forward to it, and who knows, one might come out of the clouds and surprise all of us, unlike Grindstone, who won our Louisiana Derby last year. Our next step on the road to the Kentucky Derby, and the next one here at Gulfstream, the Fountain of Youth. Join us live Saturday, February 22nd, 4:30 Eastern. And let's take a look at the rest of our spring schedule. Some major 3-year-old races. We mentioned the Derby at the Fairgrounds. Jim Beam Stakes, one of the richest events. The Toyota Bluegrass, the last big race before the Derby. And the Lone Star Derby in Texas. We're looking forward to taking you along on our road to Churchill Downs and the first Saturday in May. And you can believe these Hutcheson starters and their connections hope they're there. Here they come, the 3-year-old thoroughbreds heading to the racetrack for the running of the Danka Hutcheson Stakes. That's Ordway, who was the morning line favorite, making his way to the track, and the call to the post in the background. Championship event coming up on ESPN this week. This is the place to watch the USA begin its run for the Davis Cup Tennis Championship. Play begins Friday, runs through Sunday against Brazil. Team USA, led by Andre Agassi and Jim Courier. Dave Johnson, a quick comment from the paddock. Oh, excuse me, let's get to odds update real quick before we give you our post parade, again presented by Las Vegas. Now take a look at the 3 bottom horses. That's where all the action is. Confide at 7-5, Time to Gamble at 4, Ordway at 2, Confide the favorite. Also President's Decree getting some support at 9-2. Well, Dave Johnson, Caton Bader making their way from the paddock, as are the horses. They're about to set foot on the racetrack for our post parade for the Danka Hutcheson. Again, it's 7 furlongs, 100,000 in the purse. We'll start with Hoop Coyote Hoop. 3 races to 2, second in the 7 furlong prep last month at Tampa Bay Downs. Bill Klink is the rider of the 1 horse. The 2, a $330,000 Keeneland Sale Yearling. This is President's Decree, has been first or second in his only 2 starts. Shane Sellers, Gulfstream's leading rider, has them out. The 3, Y'all Can. Y'all Can was first or second in 4 of 5 starts, making his first start as a 3-year-old for trainer Nick Zito. Horatio Caramano from Argentina is the jockey. Frisk Me Now, the 4 horse. This is the longest price in the field, has been 3rd in the last 4 allowance races he's run in. Eddie King, regular New Jersey rider, is in the irons. 5, Crown Ambassador. This is a Keeneland $195,000 yearling, third in the spectacular bid. In his 1997 debut, Hall of Famer Pat Day is the jockey. The 6 horse, and right now our 9-2 race favorite. This is Confide from Ed Novak's new farm. He's the speed horse, winner of the spectacular bid stakes, and Mike Smith, 2-time Eclipse Award-winning rider, is in the irons today. The 7 horse is Time to Gamble. Has not been worse than second in 4 starts last year, making his 97 debut with Joe Bravo. He comes to the barn of Sonny Hine, which may explain why he's being bet well now at 9-2. And being held now at 2-1, he was the morning line favorite. This is Ordway, making his 97 debut. Won a Racing Star 2-year-olds, winner of the Champagne, third in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. A Keeneland $80,000 purchase. Has already made more than $426,000. John Velasquez, the rider. There they are, the 8 that will run 7 furlongs this afternoon. The Danka Hutcheson, with their eye on a bigger prize down the road, the Kentucky Derby. 4 minutes to post. 4 minutes to the running of the Danka Hutcheson Stakes, and the first step for us on the road to the Kentucky Derby. Well, you might have noticed in all the celebrations with the cigar team, with the Paulsons and Billy Mott, who was missing? Well, world-class jockey about to receive another Eclipse Award, Jerry Bailey. Jerry happens to be on the other side of the coast. Jerry is in California, in fact, getting ready just about now to head to the racetrack and ride Boston Harbor, the 2-year-old champion of last year, in the Santa Catalina. We'll try to have an update for you there. Let's bring you now the current odds for our Danka Hutcheson Stakes. And again, you know, most of the activity on the last 3 horses. President's Decree again. That's that expensive yearling at 4-1. But Confide is the 3-2 favorite, winner of the spectacular bid. Time to Gamble from Sonny Hines' barn. He's been hot lately at 5. And Ordway, again, last year's Champagne Grade 1 winner at 2-1. Well, those are the favorites, but obviously you're not going to get much of a ticket price on that. So for some value, as always, we asked Dave Johnson to give us our Budweiser long shot, the first of 97.
We expect today's Budweiser long shot, number 5, Crown Ambassador, to alter his racing style. He's really been around in his career with 7 races over 7 different tracks. And so far, he's been an early speedster. Crown Ambassador was on the lead in the Grade 2 Remsen back in December, but wound up fading to 4th. He also contested the pace with Kelly Kipp and Confide in his most recent start here at Gulfstream, but trainer Todd Pletcher thinks it's time for a change.
Well, we thought we ran a respectable race. We were 3rd, beating 5 lengths to, you know, Confide, who's the favorite in the Hutcheson. But the thing that we're going to try to change a little bit is we were in the midst of a 43 2.5, and we felt like that, you know, that compromised his chances at the end. So hopefully we can get a little better half mile out of him, a little more relaxed and a little slower, and then hopefully we'll have a little something to finish up with.
And to help with that assignment, Pletcher will employ a new and patient rider, Pat Day. So we hope to start another winning season in the Danka Hutcheson with Crown Ambassador, today's eager Budweiser long shot.
There is the Budweiser long shot. Crown Ambassador opened at 10, now at 13-1. Well, no one would know more about this racetrack or about these horses than Kaiten Brader. She spends every day here working at Gulfstream Park, and she has the insight for us on our thrifty keys to victory.
Well, Chris, there are a lot of ways to pick a winner, but a shop teacher once taught me to mind my P's and Q's. Well, for today's Hutcheson Stakes, the keys are in the P's. The first key starts with pace. And pace makes the race. It will be very important for closers like Ordway to kick it in. There must be a legitimate pace to run at. Positioning is critical. At Gulfstream Park, you have to be off the rail and in striking distance when they turn for home, or it's very tough to catch up. And past stakes experience is nice, but not really necessary. President's Decree and Time to Gamble can take heart in the fact that many previous Hutcheson Stakes winners were limited in their previous stakes experience.
as you mentioned, President's Decree, of course, the 2-horse, and Dave, very interesting, and the high-price yearling and getting some support at 7-2.
Handicapping gurus, Jerry Brown pointed out to me that President's Decree has only 2 starts, but his numbers are terrific, and his trainer, Elliott Walden, young Elliott Walden, seems to improve a horse second after a layoff. Also, first-time Lasix and Shane Sellers in the irons. So we asked Elliott Walden, what about his horse? He's only started twice. Fill us in on this promising colt by Capote.
He works very fast. He does have the pedigree to stay. And I just think with the whole combination of his pedigree and his ability, that he is the type that, I don't know if he'll go 1.25 miles, but I think he will go 2 turns. And today we wanted to try to test him out against some of the 3-year-olds that look like they'll be a factor, and it'll be a good test.
I agree, Elliott, and at 7-2, I think that's a generous price. First-time Lasix and Shane Sellers aboard. President's Decree, the 2-horse. Chris?
The 7-horse Time to Gamble is also an interesting one. There is, ought to be able to pick him out pretty easily in the race. The gray, trained by Sonny Hine, one of the hottest, most popular trainers on the ground. He won the big Shirley Jones stake yesterday with his 4-year-old filly Chip, owned by his wife Carolyn. And of course, when you say Sonny Hine, you think of really one horse, and that is the great Skipaway. He'll be crowned the 3-year-old champion officially Tuesday night, and Skipaway will make his return next weekend in the Don Handicap and on ESPN2. But Time to Gamble, again owned by Roger King of King World Syndicates, and making his debut this year. A lot of people here like him. John Velasquez rides the morning line favorite Ordway. Right now the second choice, in fact, in this race. Ordway at 9-5. John was not the least bit happy when he drew the outside 8 post position. With that in mind, we asked him how he'd like to see now the race set up for him.
Well, I'm hoping that, you know, it's a lot of pace in front of me, you know, a little, you know, fast pace in front of me where I can, you know, just sit off the pace and come with a good run, you know, and hopefully we get a clear trip. Then again, we got to post on the outside, you know, we don't want to go too wide and lose too much ground, but even if he has a clear trip, I think we'll be okay.
John Velasquez on the 8-horse Ordway will break from the outside. And just wondering, Dave or Caton, any real disadvantage of that with a 7-furlong race?
Well, Chris, as far as outside post positions in general, the conventional wisdom is the outside has the edge at 7/8. But in fact, inside posts have been faring fine as well. We've seen 4 winners make it 5 with 1 winner today from the rail, and post 2 has been just fine as well.
And speaking of the rail, Hoop Coyote Hoop with Bill Klink won the race at the Meadowlands, the 6 furlongs, the Morven, in terrific time. Be interesting to see if this horse makes the transition between age 2 and 3. And there is President's Decree, who is 7-2. As they start to load into the gate, let's go to the top of the stands, and here's the man who'll call the Danka Hutcheson for you, Tom Durkin. Tom?
Thank you, Dave. As President's Decree has gone into the starting gate, the favorite Ordway, who is a horse that generally rates from just off the pace. He was really pumped up in the paddock, really pumped up when he first came onto the track, but he's been able to settle down now. We're waiting for Time to Gamble and Ordway. There goes Time to Gamble and Ordway, in fact, the second choice, going into post position number 8. Ready for the start for the Danka Hutcheson. They're in the gate. And they're off. Time to Gamble. Hoop Coyote Hoop comes out quickly. Crown Ambassador has some early speed. Confide is also right there, and President's Decree. A scramble on for the early lead here. And here comes Confide to grab the lead as they leave the chute. It's Confide in front by a neck. Crown Ambassador up close to the pace today. Down inside, President's Decree runs in 3rd. Time to Gamble, the gray on the outside 4th. Y'all Can 5th. Frisbee Now is running in 6th. Hoop Coyote Hoop off to a slow start. At the back of the pack, running in 7th. Ordway has been out sprinted early, but he's only about 7 or 8 lengths from the speed duel up front. 21-4 first quarter. The pace is a wicked one here, with Confide going head-to-head with Crown Ambassador. Confide and Crown Ambassador full bore around the far turn. 2.5 lengths back. President's Decree is down inside. Frisbee Now coming on through in between horses with Y'all Can and Time to Gamble. Then Hoop Coyote Hoop John Velasquez guides Ordway to the far outside. The half went in a sizzling 44 and 2/5 seconds. The field turning for home, and Confide comes away with the lead at the top of the stretch, 3/4 of a length. Crown Ambassador to his inside second. On the outside, Frisk Me Now is in with a chance. What a huge upset that would be. Down to the final 16th. Confide in front by a head. Frisk Me Now on the outside comes to him. Here comes Frisk Me Now. He has won. He's 99-1. Oh my! Well, the beginning of the 3-year-old season is the season of surprises, and they don't get more surprising than this result. Oh man!
What a shocker. Frisk Me Now dismissed at least 99-1. But thinking ahead to our Fountain of Youth, you might remember we had a shocker there when we had a huge payoff there with Built for Pleasure, and that was enough to make Tommy Hurd decide to take a shot and go on to the Kentucky Derby. But we told you before, usually the Danka Hutcheson returns short prices. Not so in 1997. And that's just an idea, Dave and Caden, of I guess what we're in store for. Anything can happen on the road to the Triple Crown.
Caden, earlier you said pace makes the race. Well, the pace was 21 and 4, 44 and 2. Yeah, that made it. It set it up for Frisk Me Now, a son of Mr. Frisky.
But you also had to be in contention when they turned from home, and you can see Ordway all the way at the back of the pack was too far out of it, got shuffled all the way to the outside fence. He's not even in the picture. Meanwhile, Frisk Me Now was stalking all the way. When the fractions took their toll on Confide, Frisk Me Now was able to step up.
And Eddie King, who's been aboard this horse all 7 of his outs, was again aboard this afternoon. I'll bet he is one surprise guy. We'll find out. They sent us past performances for 7 of the 8 horses. We didn't even expect Frisk Me Now to be in the field. Chris?
Oh yeah, now I remember we wanted to make Frisk Me Now the Budweiser long shot. The crowd is roaring. They're waiting for the payoff in this 99-1. And remind you, coming up next on ESPN, final round coverage of the senior golf, the Royal Caribbean Classic. Bob Murphy, the defending champion. Well, the crowd is buzzing as they saw Frisk Me Now stun the group here at Gulfstream, winning the Danka. There is Eddie King, the rider of Frisk Me Now, the son of Mr. Frisky. This is Eddie's first season, they tell me, riding here at Gulfstream. Well, Eddie, welcome down from New Jersey. He's not only enjoying the warm sunshine, he's enjoying the fact that that man just made $6,000 for a ride that took 1 minute 22 and 2 to complete. That's his percentage of the $60,000 winner purse for Frisk Me Now. Opened at 20-1, went off at 99-1, and probably was bigger than that when we see the official prices. But right now, let's find out about one of those early Derby prospects. What happened to Ordway?
And I'm with David Donk, and one race, a win or a loss doesn't make a season. David, what happened? You know.
I certainly don't have all the answers. You know, he's getting carried wide. He's drifting a little bit on his own. He gets carried very wide into the turn. I think he loses interest. It's certainly not what we were looking for.
What do you do from here?
Back up and punt. You know, I don't know. We'll just get him back to the barn, see how the horse is.
Let's take a look at it on this monitor right here. And where are you right here?
On the far outside.
Oh, you can't get any wider. With the blue cap?
With the blue cap. I don't know. I guess that's the one horse carried him out.
John Velasquez, what happened?
Well, he wasn't there for me today. I mean, we broke there. We was pretty close in the. We weren't too far back in the backside. Going to the turn. He wasn't there for me though. You know, and when I got next to that horse just drifted away from me. He was just right inside of me and just kept carrying us out. So he was not there for us today.
There's still a lot of time to the Kentucky Derby. See you again down the road. Chris?
Well, David Donk had said he did not have to win this race. I'm sure he didn't want to finish that far back. Take a look at the official payoff. Frisk Me Now, $213,000. $13.80 to win the Danka Hutcheson Stakes. Confide was the race time favorite at $3.80, and Crown Ambassador, that Keeneland yearling, the $330,000 yearling I mentioned to you, gets the show spot at $4.21, 22 and 2. They cover the 7 furlongs, and that bit off, of course, the Bostack Stakes and track record. But the story here, and a shocking one it is Frisk Me Now. Beautiful infill lake, some of the skyline in the background, heading out towards the Atlantic Ocean here in Miami, as Frisk Me Now has stunned the crowd here. Caton Brader with the winning rider, Eddie King.
Well, he may have stunned the crowd, but he didn't sting Eddie King, who knew all along. You had a lot of confidence in this horse, Eddie.
Yeah, he's been doing real well. You know, it's been about 3 weeks ago. Bob and I worked him on the grass, and I guess it was a big wake-up call, because since then, he's really come around and showed me that there was better things to come.
Take a look at the action from the top of the stretch. You're sitting in the catbird seat when they turned for home with that fast pace.
Yeah, around the turn, I'd asked him for a little move, and when I did, there was a lot of horse, so I was able to go ahead and sit on him, wait a little bit longer, and then make one drive on him. And you can see it worked out great.
Biggest race you've ever won?
No, once. It's been a long time since I won one this big, with this much quality in one race, but it's not the only one.
I think a lot of emotion tied to it, too, with a lot of time invested, along with trainer Bob Durso. Chris?
Well, I'm pleased to be joined now by Bill Freeman, Chief Financial Officer of Danka Worldwide. And, Bill, what a way to start and make history, the richest payoff ever in the Danka Hutcheson.
This is just fantastic. You know, Danka's been a proud sponsor of racing in the UK for a number of years, and this is a great way to bring a sponsorship to the United States.
Tell us something about Danka.
Danka is one of the world's largest office imaging company, and with our recent acquisition of Kodak's office imaging company, we're now the exclusive worldwide distributor of Kodak branded copiers worldwide.
Well, you stay with us in horse racing here in the States, too, and Dave Johnson has more comments from the winner's circle.
And just time for one question from trainer Bob Durso, one answer. What's next?
Well, we hopefully go on to the classics, maybe.
Florida Derby?
Possibility.
So what about Fountain of Youth would be your next step?
Yes, I would think so. I'm not sure, but I think so. We had worked this horse on the grass here with anticipation of running in a Super Bowl handicap, and then we decided to wind up running him back 7/8 of a mile with the next race, the Lord Avey, on the grass. So I have to think about it a little bit.
A very versatile colt you have in your barn. Congratulations, trainer Bob Durso. Back to you, Chris.
He didn't sound just a little stunned, did he? Frisk Me Now. There's the winner's circle. Bill Freeman making the presentation. Again, the richest payoff in the history of this race. Before this, it had been $81 in '92.
Thrifty Car Rental, racing across America. Today's coverage of the Danka Hutcheson Stakes is being brought to you by Thrifty Car Rental. Best of all, it's thrifty. Visa, it's everywhere you want to be. By Brewery Fresh Budweiser. Reminds you, fresh beer tastes better. And by Wittnauer Watches, the perfect balance of hand craftsmanship and advanced technology. Wittnauer, the watchmaker's watch. Ground transportation provided by Thrifty Car Rental. Reservations at over 1,100 locations worldwide. Call Thrifty at 1-800-4CARS. Air transportation provided by Western Pacific Airlines with super low fares from coast to coast. This winter, take Westpac to the max, Mountain Air Express, with direct flights to the finest Colorado ski resorts.
And to remind you, not far from here, in fact, is the final round of the Senior Royal Caribbean Classic, Senior PGA event being held at nearby Key Biscayne. That's next on ESPN. Well, what's next for these 3-year-olds and for this now crazy Derby picture after this stunning result today? Frisk Me Now. Let's go to Dave and Kate.
Let's take a look at the fractions.
Well, Dave, you know, this is not what anyone expected at all with these fractions. While people were talking about rating, Confide bounces right to the lead in 21 4/5, 44 2/5, pressed all the way by Crown Ambassador, and obviously couldn't hold up under the pressure for that extra 1/8 of a mile at 7/8, 122 2/5, one of the faster times for 7/8 of a mile this meet.
And interesting that the horses we were told were not going to go to the lead and get Speedy up in the front, Confide and Crown Ambassador, did go up front. Here's the full order of finish in the Danka Hutcheson. Frisk Me Now, the big long shot winner. Confide was second. Crown Ambassador. The Budweiser long shot third at 17 to 1 or so. President's Decree was fourth. Hoop Coyote Hoop, never in it. Time to Gamble, Y'all Can, and Ordway a head-scratching 8th. If you would have told me a week ago that Jim Kelly and Unbridled Song would be retired, Puxatawny Phil wouldn't see his shadow, and that Frisk Me Now at $213 would win, I wouldn't have believed you.
I think they'll all be back in the Fountain of Youth. Everyone's scratching their head. They'll regroup and try again.
Chris?
You know, I want to recognize Mike Sherman, the breeder for Farnsworth Farms, who bred our upset winner, Frisk Me Now. He'll receive an Eclipse Award Tuesday night as the Breeder of the Year. He showed it again already in '97. Remember, we're back here next, the Fountain of Youth, February 22nd, live at 4:30 as we continue on the road to the Kentucky Derby.